compassionate, will always be destroyed by those less restrained. To survive, a ruler must learn not how to be good, but when not to be. This is the heart of Machiavelli's brutal wisdom. Power is not about fairness, it's about control. Not about being liked, but being respected. And in this world, respect is born from fear more often than love. Look at Julius Caesar, a brilliant strategist, beloved by some, but envied by many. He showed mercy to his enemies. He pardoned traitors, and in return, they stabbed him 23 times on the floor of the Roman Senate. Kindness didn't save him, it ended. Now contrast that with someone like Stalin, ruthless, feared, and calculated. Millions hated him, but no one dared move against him. He ruled with absolute power for decades because he understood the dark truth. Machiavelli whispered, fear sustains power far longer than love ever could. This doesn't mean cruelty for cruelty's sake. Machiavelli never praised blind violence. He warned against chaos, disorder, and unnecessary cruelty. But he understood something most leaders still don't. When faced with a choice between being loved or feared, always choose fear, because love is fragile, conditional. It fades with disappointment. But fear roots itself deep. It lingers. It controls. And this doesn't just apply to kings and generals. It applies to you, in your job, in your relationship, in every room you walk into. If you constantly seek approval, if you put kindness above strength, if you avoid conflict just to be liked, you will be overlooked, dismissed, and used. But if you carry yourself with certainty, with self-respect, with boundaries so sharp they draw blood, you will be respected, you will be heard, you will command space without asking for it. Machiavelli didn't teach evil, he taught strategy. He exposed the rules no one wants to admit run the world. Rules like appearances matter more than reality. That loyalty is often a lie. That the strong are rarely pure, and the pure are rarely strong. You can ignore this. Pretend it's too harsh, too cynical. Keep believing that goodness alone will carry you. Or you can wake up. You can start sharpening your presence. You can learn when to speak, and when silence is more powerful. You can stop begging for seats at tables built to exclude you and build your own. You can understand that real power does not come from being liked. It comes from being respected, even feared, because you carry something unbreakable within you. This is not a call to cruelty. It's a call to clarity, to stop being naive, to start seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it were. Machiavelli's words still echo 5 centuries later, not because he glorified tyranny, but because he dared to write what everyone knew and no one would say. The world is not gentle. Power is not given. It is taken. And the man who understands this, who moves with wisdom, patience, and controlled fire, he doesn't wait to be chosen. He becomes the one they cannot ignore. But they watch him. They talk about him. They respect him. Because in a world run by results, strength speaks louder than sensitivity. This isn't about cruelty for sport. It's about recognizing the harsh truth that fear sustains authority longer than affection ever will. You don't have to like this. You just have to understand it. Because whether you're leading a nation, a company, or your own life, being loved makes you popular, but being feared makes you powerful. And if you want to survive in a world that respects dominance over decency, you have to embody controlled strength, not chaos, not madness. Controlled, focused, unapologetic strength. Machiavelli's wisdom isn't outdated, it's eternal. He knew that humans are fickle. Today's followers become tomorrow's enemy. Friends can turn, supporters can disappear. But fear anchors people. It shapes their behavior even when they dislike. It creates a boundary they won't cross, not because they respect you morally, but because they know the price of disrespect. So what does this mean for you? It means stop thinking that being nice will protect you. Stop imagining that loyalty comes from kindness alone. Stop believing that if you're just good enough, the world will treat you fairly. It won't. The world rewards leverage, not likability. And no, this doesn't mean you become heartless. It means you learn how to protect your name, how to command respect, how to draw lines so sharp that no one dares cross them. Because when people fear violating your standards, they respect them more. Look around you. In every office, in every industry, in every nation, the ones who rise are not the softest, they're the sharpest. The ones who combine intelligence with presence, logic with strength, and kindness. It's not eliminate, it's used strategically like velvet over steel. This is what Machiavelli meant. Don't be naive. Don't be naive. Don't confuse popularity with power. Be capable of mercy, but never predictable. Be approachable, but never easily moved. Let people wonder what you'll do, not assume they know. The most dangerous man is not the loudest in the room. He's the one who smiles while calculating, who listens more than he speaks, who understands human nature so deeply that he doesn't expect fairness from it. He prepares for war and uses peace as a weapon. You must decide what kind of man you want to be. The one who is liked but walked on, or the one who is respected even in silence. The world may not admit it. It may pretend to favor empathy and kindness. But look closer. The ones in control, the ones who shape nations and empires, they mastered the art of being both lion and fox. They show teeth when needed and vanish when it's wise. Machiavelli never told you to become cruel. He told you to become unshakable, not for the sake of hurting others, but for the sake of protecting yourself. Because when power is your armor, betrayal bounces off. So remember this: lead with strength, speak with purpose, and let your presence carry the weight of a man who does not beg to be loved, but dares to be feared. That's not weakness, that's legacy. Surrender the moment they saw his banners, not because he was cruel for no reason, but because he made his reputation clear. Resistance would be annihilated. Loyalty would be rewarded. Genghis didn't waste time with second chances. He didn't negotiate with betrayal, but to those who aligned with him, who served with discipline and honor, he gave protection, wealth, and purpose. That is the Machiavellian balance. Fear, yes, but with structure. Power, yes, but with purpose. Fear, when wielded with intelligence, is not chaos, it's order. But here's the part most people miss. You don't need to be a ruler to apply this. This isn't just about politics or empires. It's about everyday life. It's about business, leadership, relationships. Every person who's ever held power understood this law. Do not let sentimentality sabotage strength. Kindness has its place, but kindness without boundaries becomes weakness. Mercy without consequence becomes an invitation for betrayal. How many people in your life have taken advantage of your patience? How many times have you forgiven when you should have walked away? How often have you stayed silent when you should have drawn a line? That's not noble. That's how power is lost. Machiavelli's final law is this: always appear fair, but never hesitate to strike. Reputation is everything. Maintain the image of balance, of reason, but behind the curtain, be ruthless with threats. The man who wears a calm face while holding a sharp blade is the one no one dares to cross, because people test boundary. That's human nature. If you let one betrayal go, others will follow. If you tolerate disrespect once, you've set a new standard. But when you respond with firm consequence, not emotional reaction, but calculated strength, you reset the rule. You teach people how to treat you. Power is not maintained by those who want to be liked. It is kept by those who are respected through discipline, consequence, and unwavering standard. Let's go deeper. Machiavelli believed that the appearance of virtue was more valuable than virtue itself. Why? Because image shapes perception, and perception, in the eyes of the public, becomes reality. People don't follow truth. They follow confidence. They follow authority. They follow whoever makes them feel safest, even if that safety is rooted in fear. So when you lead in any domain, your home, your business, your life, do not try to be loved. Try to be clear. Be just, but be firm. Show respect, but never tolerate disrespect. Reward loyalty, crush betrayal, and do all of it with such calm precision that no one ever sees you sweat. This is the truth. Most people are too afraid to speak. This is the reason the gentle get walked on. This is why the strong rise, even when they're hated. Because hate fades, love changes, but fear, it lasts. You don't have to rule a kingdom to rule your world. You just need to stop living under the illusion that goodness alone builds legacy. It doesn't. Power does. Clarity does. Boundaries do. So take back your mind. Take back your authority. Speak less. Watch more. Reward wisely. Punish precisely. And when they whisper your name behind closed doors, let it carry the weight of a man who doesn't beg to be respected because he commands it. Entire cities fell silent when his name was spoken, not because they hated him, but because they knew resistance meant annihilation, and loyalty meant reward. This is the brutal dance of power, where fear maintains order and decisiveness cements legacy. But here's where most leaders fail. They try to rule with ideals. They hesitate. They believe diplomacy will save them. They think enemies can be reasoned with. Machiavelli warned clearly: hesitation invites death. Mercy, when misapplied, is not virtue, it's weakness in disguise. And weakness, in the eyes of rivals, is blood in the water. Power is not kept through hope, it's kept through execution. He who hesitates loses the throne. Look at history's most efficient rulers. They were not kind, but they were clear. They understood a simple rule: if you want to rule long, you must rule hard. The greatest mistake you can make as a leader is to think that time is your friend. It's not. Time is the enemy when threats go unchecked. Time is how small fires turn into revolutions. Take the case of Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. He was warned of unrest, advised to reform, begged to act, but he hesitated. He trusted too long, and when the people turned, they didn't just dethrone him, they executed his entire family. That's what mercy buys you in a world where enemies don't forgive. Now contrast that with Mao Zedong. When Mao faced resistance, he didn't hesitate. He didn't negotiate with dissent. He restructured his state, removed threats, and reshaped China with an iron grip. His rule wasn't admired by all, but it lasted. And in the game of power, survival is the only true victory. Machiavelli didn't preach evil. He preached realism. He understood that the throne is surrounded not by honor, but by dagger. He saw that the cost of sentiment is blood, and if you don't act first, someone else. One of his most brutal lessons: never trust those you've defeated. If a man once raised his hand against you, he will do it again, and the second time, he won't miss. If you leave your enemies breathing, you leave your future bleeding. This isn't just about kings and empire, it's about everyday power. In business, in leadership, in life, those who hesitate are overtaken. The ones who succeed are those who make decisions quickly, cleanly, and without apology. You don't rise by being liked, you rise by being undeniable. Look at the CEOs who built empires. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon by playing nice. He cut losses fast, removed threats before they grew, and scaled with brutal efficiency. When competitors hesitate, he expanded. When departments fail, he shut them down. That's not cruelty, that's survival instinct. That's modern Machiavellian power. So what do you take from this? Power is not about being loved, it's about being respected, feared, and obeyed. Mercy must be earned, not handed out like candy. Delay is death. Sentiment is sabotage. If you're in a position of leadership, don't wait for threats to grow. Don't believe that time will soften your enemies. Crush the problem when it's small, or be crushed when it becomes too big to handle. Machiavelli's final truth: you are not here to be good, you are here to last. And the man who lasts is not the one who forgives too easily, but the one who strikes first and never needs to strike twice. Must be both a lion and a fox, strong enough to crush his enemy, and cunning enough to never be caught. Most men try to be lions. They roar, they flex, they show their power, and in doing so, they expose themselves. The fox, however, survive. He watches, he calculates, he smiles while sharpening his teeth. This is the art of illusion. Appear kind, act ruthless, appear weak, strike hard, appear distract, control everything. Your enemies will aim at the mast, never realizing you control the battlefield from the shadow. Now ask yourself, how do the most powerful people stay untouchable? It's not brute force, it's control of the narrative. Public image is a weapon, reputation is a shield. When people believe you're invincible, they won't even try to fight you. That's not luck, that's design. Look at modern power. The most successful CEOs, world leaders, tech billionaires, they all play this game. They release press statements showing humility, charity, humanity, but behind closed doors, they're making moves that will reshape economy, destroy competition, and rewrite the rules of the game. You see the smile, but never the knife. And that's the final truth about power. The greatest strength is not what people see, it's what they never suspect. Machiavelli believed that most people are blind to strategy. They don't question what they're shown. They trust images. They follow story. They want to believe in goodness. That's why the ruler who masters illusion becomes untouchable. Because while everyone's watching the performance, they never notice the puppeteer. But here's where most fail. They want to be honest, transparent, pure. They want power, but they want to be liked while chasing it. That's the contradiction that destroys them. Because the road to power is not paved with truth, it's paved with strategy. If you show your hand too early, the game ends before it begins. Take Alexander the Great. He never told his enemies he planned to conquer them. He flattered kings. He made alliances. He played the friend, and then he struck like lightning. That's not cruelty. That's timing. That's mastery. So if you want power, not fleeting popularity, not shallow applause, but real, unshakable power, you must learn the dance of masks. Be kind in appearance, cold in execution, smile when you plan, act when they rest, strike when they speak. Because in the end, the throne is not given to the strongest. It's taken by the quietest, the one who moves without warning, the one who hides strategy behind silence, the one who never says what he's thinking, but always gets what he wants. This is what Machiavelli tried to tell us, that the world is not ruled by truth, but by perception. And he who controls perception controls everything. Remember this: power is not loud, it's not flashy, it's not desperate for attention. True power walks calmly into the room and changes everything, without ever raising its voice. A ruler must be both the lion and the fox. The lion is fierce and powerful but predictable. The fox is sly and cunning, but weak on its own. True mastery lies in combining both: strong enough to crush your enemies, yet clever enough to avoid every trap set before you. And what is the deadliest trap in power? Trust. If there's one lesson Machiavelli hammered home, it's this: never trust blindly. The smile you see today might hide a dagger poised to strike tomorrow. Loyalty is a fleeting illusion. Friendship is temporary theater. Trust is the vulnerability that your enemies wait for. History is littered with rulers who fell because they ignored this rule. Julius Caesar, for all his genius and power, made the fatal error of trusting Brutus, a man he treated like a son. As the Roman Senate's knives tore into him, it was Brutus who dealt the final fatal blow. Machiavelli would have never trusted a Brutus, Because enemies are predictable, they want to harm you openly. Friends, however, are the real danger. They betray when you least expect. If you must trust, always hold the leverage. Make sure the person knows you could destroy them if they step out of line. If people see weakness, they will try to exploit it. But if you convince them you are harmless, their guard drops, and that's when you strike. Power is a game of appearances. Look at Napoleon Bonaparte. Before he rose to emperor, just another officer in a chaotic army. No one saw the storm brewing. While his rivals celebrate, Napoleon planned quiet, waited patiently, then struck with overwhelming force. He didn't just defeat his enemies, he made them regret underestimating him. Machiavelli believed, if you strike, strike fully. If you remove an enemy, leave no chance for revenge. If you take power, leave no doubt who rules. Half measures are the fastest road to ruin. Now, here is the final brutal truth about power. It is not about good or evil. It's about control. The strong act decisively before their enemies can move. The weak hesitate and perish. Reality doesn't matter. Perception does. What people believe shapes your fate. Never reveal your full strength. Let others underestimate you until it's too late to react. Machiavelli didn't see the world through a lens of morality. He saw it as a ruthless battlefield where only the strong survive. Kindness is a luxury the powerful cannot afford. Now the ultimate question stands before you. Will you control power, or will power control you? Power is a game, and now you know its rule. But here's the real test. If you had the chance, would you use them? Would you embrace Machiavelli's harsh laws, wielding power with cold precision, or would you reject them, risking everything to cling to kindness and hope? History doesn't remember the kind-hearted, it remembers the victorious. So, tell me, if you had to choose, would you rather be feared or loved? Drop your answer in the comments below. If this truth feels uncomfortable, that's good. It means you're beginning to see the world as it truly is, unfiltered, raw, and unforgiving. The illusions that once clouded your vision are breaking, and you're waking up to the brutal realities that govern power and human nature. Power is never handed to the kind or the fair. It belongs to those who understand the ruthless rules beneath the surface, those who see beyond empty ideals and face the harsh mechanics of control and influence. This is not just theory, it's survival. In a world driven by unseen forces, knowledge is the sharpest weapon you can wield. If you want to dive deeper into the psychology of power, to unravel the hidden patterns that shape history, leadership and success, you need to stay sharp, stay informed, and never settle for comforting lies. Subscribe now, because the truths you won't hear anywhere else will prepare you to navigate this world not as a victim, but as a master. Here, power is not just strength, it's clarity. It's the courage to face uncomfortable realities, the wisdom to act decisively, and the discipline to control yourself before others. Welcome to a journey beyond illusions, where knowledge becomes your greatest defense and your greatest weapon. Subscribe, stay tuned, and let's uncover the brutal truths that shape everything.